Hello everyone, it's me Danny. It's been a long time since my last video because well, I wasn't really into video making, and all my enclosures were doing great, still are, except for my paludarium, and today I'm gonna fix it, make it nice again. I will show you guys what's going on. So what we see is in my paludarium I have 3 agate snails, some fire belly toads and 2 crocodile skinks. They go together quite nicely. I haven't had any fallouts or problems or whatsoever. But the plants, well, the snails go over it of course and eat some. The fire belly toads like to jump everywhere. And the crocodile skinks are tunneling and burrowing, so from my ferns a lot of the roots got agitated and now are dying. Some other plants died, some mosses weren't doing that well because there were quite difficult mosses in a very wet paludarium. So I've got new stuff, and hopefully I can create a nice environment again. If your paludarium is doing still fine, then I won't recommend it because it's of course stressful for the animals, and as long as it's running fine and doing good, never just do a whole landscaping thing. But now it's kinda needed for me. And that's because, well, mostly because of the snails, I think. So you see still a few plants are looking good. The waterfalls are still doing good. They are not self-made, but the bought waterfalls, like this one in the tree and that one that is a rock waterfall. In my enclosure I made this water part for my fire belly toads that like to play in it a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I put all my animals I put in setups that are temporarily just for today until I'm finished, of course. Like here is one. Just some turf, some fake plants, some rocks, a water part, and a lid with holes in it, so they can be there for, well, at least a few hours, because I made sure my room temperature also got up to speed, of course. Then I've got over here, I've got my brush that I use only for the landscaping. It's from silicone, so it doesn't leave hairs and stuff like that, like other brushes can do. I've got a moss mix. I need to mix it with water until it's like yogurty thick, and then I can paint it on what I want, and slowly over time mosses will grow. So for this I will of course keep my snails a bit longer because they can stand the temperatures, the normal household temperatures that I keep over here. I will keep my snails a little bit longer into a separate enclosure so they won't eat of the moss that I just painted. Yeah, just a fishing net that for, well, maybe some crickets are still in there and stuff like that. I usually pick everything up with my hand, but sometimes it's just easier to use a net. I've got flat moss to use now instead of the I don't know what it's called in English actually, but it's bulky moss that I used before. Let me get a piece. Come on. So before I used this moss because it looks really the nicest, I believe, and it's very green if it's doing well. But because of the almost swampy moisture of my paludarium, which is good for the animals that I keep, this moss is actually turning brownish and dying a bit. So that's why I chose flat moss. It can withstand a bit more water. I have a new plant, the Pilea depressa. It will creep a bit and well, the snails may eat from it, but I think it will grow quicker. So I kind of need to figure out how this plant is gonna work, and otherwise I will just keep it with mosses all over. Then I've got two mosses I asked that I really liked. I saw them at the store. I asked them what kind of moss is this, and they didn't know the Latin name, and on the it's just said match a moss family black. Okay, so yeah, what is I don't know, and but we will just see how this one goes. I really want to try this one out. I had it in a separate tank, just without animals, and was thickening it a bit, just annoying the moss a little bit, and it still looks fine. So I think this can go quite well. Then of course I have my mixing water for this moss, a mixing bucket, my sprayer, some turf for if I have to renew some pieces because of the swampiness. I think some pieces might get a little bit stinky, so I will just remove a little bit of it and make the floor anew. I don't have the springtails and the tropical insects yet that I always use in my enclosures for the ground. I hope still a lot are alive. If that isn't the case, of course I will get some next time I'm over at the pet store and just lift some of this moss up and put them under there. And I've got some some small pieces of wood because I thought it was nice for to paint on. One taller plant. I guess it won't really go well because it was in a huge pot, but I found out that in that huge pot there was a much smaller pot, so it doesn't have really good roots yet. And from fern root I have this. It's gonna be like this so the animals can get in, so I have a hiding place, and I don't need anything to go on here because it's fern wood and full of seeds and stuff like that. Things will naturally grow on here. And in my enclosure now I have a lot of bark, a lot of tougher wood to make such a thing that I now just have bought over there, the fern wood. And some of the bark is kind of becoming soft or too wet, and I'm just gonna see what pieces I still gonna use and which I'm gonna remove. So yeah, furthermore I've got my coffee, I've got my setup, I've got everything here, and of course the trash can, which needed. And yeah, let's go. And first I'm gonna capture the animals and I will show them in a bit.